Soccer show for winners. We're having a good time these past few weeks. So far here on Fair Play, we are 32, 13, and 1. If you've been following along, I know you're feeling pretty good about everything. And we're going to be looking to try to keep this streak going. Now, if you follow me over on Twitter, you probably saw some of our picks this morning that weren't on last episode, such as Norway plus 168, Holland to score plus 163, and Italy, Netherlands under 2.5. All three of those hit this morning. So for more picks from there, you can check me over on Twitter at Gary Danza, where I got picks almost every day for you guys. And also you can check out Fair Play QL over on Instagram, where we're posting some more picks and some more details about things over on there. Now, before I get into a great show, you know what's coming, guys. Promo code Rotz. So we got football season coming up now. Starting off on Thursday, we got Chiefs versus Texans. And come on, I know you guys have been wanting to play some bets, need the football season back. And football can be one of the hardest sports to bet on. And over on BetQL, you can get the best sports data on the internet. This is a lot of data that I use throughout a lot of my picks, whether it's soccer or other sports. And I'm feeling pretty good every time I come away with some new info from over there. So 20% off, use promo code ROTZ, R-O-T-Z. So let's get right into it. Last week we talked a lot about Nations League, and we're going to continue that today. Tomorrow is the last day for Nations League until next month when they finishing up the group. And we got a few good games and a few ones that I think could probably cash us out. So the first game we got is going to be Georgia versus North Macedonia. This is over in Group C. Group C obviously is the third tier of the Nations League behind A and B. There's a little preschool lesson for you guys. But last time out, Georgia won promotion to Group C in the last tournament. They finished their group 5-1-0 to get up to Group C. And after last Friday, it looks like they belong. Win over Estonia. Estonia is not some kind of world-beating team, but they held them only to 3 shots. And that's kind of been a trend for Georgia. Georgia's been able to grind out a lot of games against high-class opponents where they might not win it, but you're seeing their defense start to try to really impose themselves. They play gritty, and when you play gritty, there's a lot of good things that can go your way. So 4 of their 7 Nations League games have actually been under 2.5. So it makes me kind of look over at that goal total. I don't know what I'm going to be going with just yet. We'll have to wait for that one. But like I said before, they make do with all of their weaker opponents. They usually pull out the win there. They give tough times to teams like Croatia they've played before. They played France before. And they were able to be competitive with them. Over for North Macedonia. The last time we saw them out was also over on Friday, where they are able to pull out a 2-1 win over Armenia. It was a really, really sloppy game. Just an overall, just not the kind of game you want to sit through. It was 2-1, like I said. All 3 goals were from penalties, and they were just really just outplayed by Armenia. And that's something that I think we're going to see that kind of North Macedonia team when they go away tomorrow at Georgia. North Macedonia in their last 5 away games are 1-2-2. Meanwhile, Georgia is 2-2-1. So I'm going to give the edge to Georgia in this one. I think they pull out the win plus 135. I got to lock it in for those guys. Macedonia might have a few more talented players, but as we've seen it from the collective, Georgia can be a lot better. So we're going to do Georgia plus 135 there. Next game we got going on, probably the most high-profile match out of any of the games tomorrow. It's a World Cup Finals rematch. We got France versus Croatia. And France, certainly the favorite here at minus 162. That's who I'm going to be riding with. Last time we saw France out, they were able to beat Sweden 1-0. Pretty good Sweden team as well. The big difference between this game and that game is that they're going to be missing Kylian Mbappe. If you don't know who Kylian Mbappe is by now, he's a French superstar, 21 years old, World Cup winner, Ligue 1 winner, player of the year. the future of the sport, pretty much. He won't be playing this time out. And even without him, this France team is still just overloaded with talent. We're going to see Didier Deschamps, who's their manager, make some alterations to the formation and also just the lineups. So last time out, they played a 3-4-1-2. He said he wants to change some things up throughout their matches leading up to Euros so that they can just try different things. So it's got to feel pretty good if you're him. You just have all this talent to do whatever, try whatever out with. One guy who's going to be big for them tomorrow is going to be starting up front, I think, is Ben Yedder. He's the Monaco striker. In 8 international appearances, he's got 2 goals for Les Bleus. So I think they pull this out. They're 9 games unbeaten. They're going up a Croatian team that we just saw absolutely demolished by Portugal 4-1, while missing their best player, who is still 35-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, who had to miss last game because of a bee sting. So this is a Croatian team that's won 1 of 5 of their overall Nation Leagues games this year, and back in 2018. It's going to be no Luka Modric, no Ivan Rakitic. They're 2-1-2 in their last 5 games. I think it's just a French team that's much better, they're much better coached at this point in time than some of the performances we've been seeing Croatia putting out there. And with missing those 2 guys, that's huge. So got to give the advantage to France over here. I think it should be a pretty easy win for them. I wouldn't be surprised if it was some kind of 2-1 win or 2-0 win, excuse me. So following that up, and all these games are also at 2:45 tomorrow. The third game for 2:45 tomorrow is going to be Sweden-Portugal, which I think has potential to be a much better game than people are giving them credit for. I think obviously seeing Portugal put on that 4-1 just ass-whooping to Croatia, they deserve to obviously be favorites coming into this one. -122. I'm going to ride with them, but this is a Sweden team that doesn't really get enough credit for how good they are. Before their defeat to France last Friday, they were 6-3-1 coming into the Nations League, with that one loss being a 3-0 win for Spain. But then next time they played Spain a few months after that, they were able to come out with a point with a 0-0 draw. So we've seen how they're able to bounce back, how they're able to alter tactics to fit different situations, and they certainly do have talent. Last time out versus France, who they lost to 1-0 on Friday, the difference being an Mbappe goal that was very cheekily scored. They actually had more possession than France, more shots, and more shots on target than France. So I don't know if Portugal deserves to be -122 favorites. I'm still going to ride with them because I think they have just too much that can overpower Sweden in this match. Because we're probably going to see Ronaldo, Felix, and Bernardo Silva as the top, front 3 forwards. And I think we're going to talk a bit more about Ronaldo a little bit later, but I think that's going to be enough to get the job done for them there. So now this next game, I'm going to be honest, I'm probably not going to bet on this game. I don't like it, and you're going to see why in just a second. We got some pretty insane lines. Belgium versus Iceland. This is probably the most stark difference between the lines out of any of the matches coming up tomorrow. Belgium's a clear favorite, -590. Talked about them a lot last week. They're my favorites to actually win the Nations League. And coming out of this weekend, they had a 2-0 win over Denmark. They looked good in that. Iceland, classic, was able to battle it out with England, and unfortunately they lost that one. But like I said, I'm probably not going to touch this game. If you're someone that wants to throw in, a -590 into some kind of parlay, maybe you're feeling a little risky, you want to bet something on, Iceland to pull it off, go for it, because Iceland has been a challenging team. Not only for England, but some other bigger teams as well. They're not just some kind of pushover, but Belgium will probably come out with this one. Like I said, I'm not touching this, but if you're someone that likes parlays and wants to throw in that -590 to work in with some kind of 3-team parlay, be my guest. But that is one of the major games going on tomorrow. And Belgium, like I said, I think they can win it all. But speaking of Iceland and tough times with England, England is also out there tomorrow, and they're a team I'm going to be riding with at plus 104 over Denmark. This is an English team that's been in the news for the past 24 hours, unfortunately for the wrong reasons. Two of their players, Phil Foden of Man City, Mason Greenwood of Man United, both were sent home from the team for sneaking in two females into their hotel. Obviously, it was against the rules, especially with quarantining and all of that. So they done messed up. They're not going to be playing in Denmark, which sucks, especially for someone like Foden, who actually got to start his first time out for England in their game against Iceland, and even Greenwood, who came on as one of their substitutes. But they won't be there against Denmark. Don't feel too bad for England. They certainly still have enough talent to replace them with. And like I said, I don't know if we'll see the same kind of England team that for some reason just struggles with Iceland. They were able to beat them 1-0 last Friday, thanks to a Raheem Sterling penalty in the 90th minute, which some could claim was undeserved. I'm probably one of those people. But this Denmark team itself has been struggling quite a bit. I touched on it in the last episode. They have 4 wins in their last 10 games. 3 of those wins come outside of the top 60 and FIFA's nations ranking right now. So we're not seeing them beat anyone close to the level we assume Denmark should be on. And I don't think they're going to be able to really break that the struggle streak against England, who I think will come out on top with this one. We're going to probably see Trent Alexander-Arnold start at right back for Kyle Walker, who who was sent off last game with 2 yellow cards, so he'll be suspended. And we can see how TA does with this start. He's one of the most creative fullbacks in the world right now. When he came on last time out, it was more so to solidify the defense while they were a man down. So I'm really interested to see if Southgate uses him in a much more attacking role this time out. And one interesting, nugget from the last game was seeing Kieran Trippier over on the left-hand side. Typically, he's a right back. His first time really playing over there and trying to get used to the left-hand side. And you saw as the game progressed on, he got a lot more comfortable cutting in and using his right foot, which he's a right-footed player. So once he realized, he could do that, was comfortable doing that, he looked a lot better there. So I think that could be a plus and a huge advantage for England going into this game. Take them and ride them, plus 104. So now we're going to get into a few teams and a few countries that I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't point them out on a map, but they're certainly there, and they deserve your attention because, like I said before, a line's a line. A line can make you money. It doesn't matter if you can point it out on a map. It matters if they can win. So this game, we got Luxembourg versus Montenegro. And that's right, we're not riding a team on this one. We're going with the goal line. We're going to ride over 2.5 at plus 123. I really, really like this line. And I promise it's not like the Ireland line that I liked last time out and they ended up losing. So if you rode my Ireland pick last week because of my enthusiasm, I'm sorry. But, blame Ireland. But Luxembourg versus Montenegro over 2.5 plus 123. Luxembourg comes into this game off of a 2-1 win over Azerbaijan. And it was a game that Azerbaijan actually had the lead in. They were 10. They had a man sent off, so they were down to 10 men. Luxembourg was able to pull 2 goals and win that game. And a 2-1, it hits the over that we're trying to hit at this point. 4 of their last 6 games have also hit over 2.5 goals. And the reason why I'm really staying away from a winner here is so Luxembourg has 1 win in their last 11 games. Meanwhile, Montenegro can one-up them here, and they have 2 wins in their last 11. So I don't know who's going to win, but I do feel that we're going to see a decently high-scoring game. Both these teams are going to be out there looking for the win, with Montenegro having won against Cyprus their last time out. So this sets up a battle for trying to get to the top of the division, top of their group. Montenegro also puts up about 16 shots a game. So they're active on offense. I think they're going to be going all out, both these teams all out for the win, like I said before. One guy to watch from Montenegro is Stefan Jovetic. He's a former Man City striker. He scored a brace last time out versus Cyprus and has 56 appearances for Montenegro, has scored 26 goals. So that's a goal every other game. Hopefully we can see him score a couple, in back-to-back games now, which I think he has a good chance of doing against this Luxembourg defense. So lock that in, over 2.5 plus 123. So one other game looking over at Group C is, the losers of last week versus Luxembourg and Montenegro. We got Cyprus versus Azerbaijan. And for this one, like I said, both these teams are coming off a loss last time out. Azerbaijan probably had the worst loss, having had the lead, losing it, being down to 10 men. But I'm taking Cyprus in this one. To be honest, it's going to be a scrappy game. This is one of the games, if you bet on it, you put the bet in, you don't even look at it. You just wait until it's over. So Cyprus versus Azerbaijan. Cyprus has one win in their last 10. Meanwhile, Azerbaijan has one win in their last 12. Azerbaijan has also been held scoreless in 3 of 4. Meanwhile, Cyprus has been able to score pretty frequently. They've scored in 5 of their last 7. And typically when you watch Cyprus play, they seem to be a bit more cohesive than Azerbaijan. And if you've ever watched a Cyprus-Azerbaijan game, I don't know how many of us there are out there. So if you're also one of those people, shout out to you. But I'm riding Cyprus, plus 125. I'll take the odds. And, man, we're throwing a dart. But throwing darts is nothing compared to what I'm about to show you guys. So you can call me crazy for this one, but this is probably the wildest and probably the craziest odds that I've ever looked at. And the craziest odds that I've actually thought, you know what, I'm going to throw something on this. I'm going to see what happens. Let's see what sticks. So Wednesday is a Europa League qualifying game. It's being made up from a game that was supposed to take place on August 27th, 28th, I believe, ended up being postponed, and it got pushed back until this Wednesday. So we got Maccabi Haifa versus FK Zeljeznicar. And it took me at least 12 minutes to be able to pronounce FK Zeljeznicar. But now I got it. So Zeljeznicar is a Bosnian team. Maccabi Haifa is an Israeli team. And they'll be facing off for the first time in their history. Maccabi Haifa is one of the more celebrated teams over in Israel. They were the runners-up last year to Maccabi Tel Aviv, who has one of the biggest sporting clubs in the world, whether it's soccer, basketball. Their presence is felt really all over. Right now, Maccabi Haifa is sitting in 5th in the Israeli Prem. Season just really kicked off. And for Maccabi Haifa, they started 2019 off really well, going 8-4 in 12 games. And then obviously everything kind of, went down. So since then, the Israeli team started playing back up in August, and their 5 games in August, they went 2-3. A big reason for that is they got a new manager now. Barak Bakar took over in midsummer, and, it's just been a case of, new manager, new kind of tactics, new approaches to training. And they're really trying to get acclimated to that still. And so I think for a team like FK Zeljeznicar, they've been making easy work in the Bosnian League. They're currently the leaders over there. They're 4-1 in their last 5, where they've been able to outscore their opponents 9-2. So truthfully, this is, I've told you guys in the past with some crazy underdogs about how I thought Ferencváros over Celtic was a possibility. Ferencváros was being underrated. I talked about, even Champions League, I talked about, Lyon being a superbly talented team that a lot of teams were, or a lot of bookmakers were underrating. And that's something that I think is happening with FK Zeljeznicar. Granted, do I watch a lot less Bosnian soccer than, say, maybe Celtic games or, France and with Lyon. But I'm going to ride them at plus 1,100, throw a little something on it. I'm not betting the rent on it. I'm just throwing a little, hey, let's see what happens kind of bet. I'm about it. Let's see what happens. So that is the course. That's our palette for all the games, for game lines, goals. Take a look over at some player props now. We've been doing pretty well on player props. Most recently, we were able to hit this morning on Erling Haaland scoring. And like I mentioned earlier in the description, there's two guys I got for you who you've probably heard of. One of them is somebody I had last week to score and didn't end up playing. So you might guess who it is if you've been watching the episodes. Ronaldo to score. Like I said before, earlier in the episode, Ronaldo was out with a bee sting on his foot. At least that's what they're telling us. So he's going to be back. At least that's what the belief is. He's going to be able to play against Sweden. And he's got 99 goals. Someone like Ronaldo wants to be able to break into the 100 club, where there's only one other person in history to ever be able to score 100 international goals. At minus 104, these are actually slightly better odds than what he was at against Croatia, which was minus 107. So nothing huge, nothing major, but I like this a lot. I think Ronaldo is going to be able to, really wants to go out there, needs to score that goal, and I think he gets it done. The next guy, pretty global superstar, Harry Kane. Tottenham striker, obviously. He was injured for a lot of last season, and when the Premier League started back up, it took him a while, it seemed like, to really get as comfortable as possible or really get back to his former form or anything resembling it. Was able to end his season scoring in the last 3 games for Spurs, 5 games overall. And he's also scored in 6 of his last 7 English games. The one game that he didn't score in was last time out against Iceland, where he had a goal ruled off for offsides. So he's active, he's getting in the box, he's putting the ball in the net. I guess not legally just yet, but I think that is going to happen in this game. At plus 138, I like him to get the job done. So one other game, or one other prop, which we haven't bet on yet, is corners. Just really betting the overall corners we think we're going to get in the game. And this I got is a game we didn't bet on, what I mentioned, but I will be betting on the game, but not the line. I'm taking the under on the corners, under 10.5 at minus 175. Kind of a hefty line, but I like how it's looking. For Iceland, last 6 of their games have ended under 10.5 corners. Meanwhile, they're also able to hold, an incredibly talented and attacking France side to only 7 corners when they played them out at the end of last year. Meanwhile, Belgium doesn't play for corners. Belgium isn't really a corner team. Belgium's been held to less than 5 corners in 3 of their last 4 games. So their style just doesn't, play 4 corners. So I think getting under 11 corners is very in play. I think it's very possible. And I think it's so possible that I'm going to put my own money on it. So if you're interested in something like that, Belgium versus Iceland corners under 10.5 at minus 170. I like that one a lot. So I got one last kind of bet for you. This was one I kind of just threw in at last minute because, I think it's inevitably going to happen. It's a futures bet. It's kind of a hefty line, but that's because this line has been moving up steadily every single day for the past few weeks now. It's actually one I wish I threw on earlier because it's something that I envisioned happening and it's going to happen. You got Kalidou Koulibaly to Man City. The Napoli center back, one of the best center backs in the world. It would be a perfect partner next to Aymeric Laporte in Pep's back four. It's going to happen. It's at minus 400 right now. Napoli's president has already said, look, he's one way out. We don't expect him to be here next season. City is one of the few teams that can fork out a massive transfer fee for Koulibaly. And the only reason it hasn't happened yet is the two teams kind of have some bad blood between them due to some transfer a couple years ago for Jorginho, where Napoli promised Jorginho to Man City, then turned around and sold him to Chelsea. So this isn't really a typical transfer where the two clubs are working together to come to an agreement. It's all third parties working it out. So that's why it hasn't happened yet. At minus 400, if you got a few bucks lying around and you're ready, just have a bet that's going to be done by October, because that's when the transfer window closes. Koulibaly might be that guy. It could be a fun futures. Nothing major on it. Just pay. Little change if you can. So with that one being said, guys, I'm about to go watch the Celtics game. And one thing that I used to bet on today's Celtics game was actually the BetQL app. BetQL has the best data. I honestly can't stress this enough. I've used Sportsline before. I've used Action Network. I've used a lot of different things. But the best one, in my opinion, that I've been able to use has been BetQL. I think they have the most accurate data. You give it a shot, you're going to find out the same too. So promo code Rotz for 20% off your BetQL subscription. Check out the link below for some different subscription plans. And be ready for the NFL season, my man or woman. So before I leave, check us out over on Instagram at FairPlayQL. We're always posting some pics over there and ones that aren't even featured on this show. So you want to get a little action, a few winners over there, check out FairPlayQL on Instagram. And if Instagram's not your thing, you're more of a Twitter person, check me out at Gary Danza on Twitter. Gary Danza, named after two of the greatest actors from 80s sitcoms. So with that said, like I said, I'm going to go check out the rest of the C's game. I'll see you guys Wednesday at 8 o'clock, where we're going to be looking at all the leagues that are starting back up this week. So it's going to be a fun episode. I'll see you then, guys. Bye-bye.